debating the fact. Nobody is saying any other than the fact that everybody in a few years, they're going to get their Social Security checks cut. Nobody is debating that fact. That is the Social Security Trustees Report, the Committee for Financial Responsibility, Congress, everybody else out there that has looked at Social Security, the trust fund, and the trust fund is being depleted. It's one of the myths out there that it was stolen or whatever the case may be. If you're receiving Social Security, you're currently receiving about 10% of your check is coming from the trust fund. So it is actual money. It's not fake money. It's not IOUs. It was not stolen. But right now, 85 more checks. If you're receiving Social Security, you're going to receive a Social Security in the future. You've got 85 more checks that are going to be at 100%. And then the trust fund runs out. And right now, at that time, the trust fund will be covering 23% of payments going out. Right now, it's about 10%. So if you're receiving a Social Security check, about 10% of your Social Security checks comes from the trust fund. In a few years, we're talking about January 2033, about 85 more checks, then the trust fund will cover about 23, 1 month. And then the 86 month from now, the trust fund is empty. So everybody, that's the law. Everybody's going to get a cut on their Social Security check by at least 23%. That is if we don't do anything. And we've had 40 years. We've tried not doing anything for 40 years. Congress on both sides, left, right, the current president, Biden, the current president when he was president before, Obama, Clinton, the Bushes, they didn't do anything. All the politicians, the House of Representatives, senators, they didn't do anything to fix this, to solve this, so you won't get a cut of 23% in a few years. Why didn't they do it? Why didn't politicians do it? Well, obviously we know they want to privatize Social Security, they're too incompetent, whatever the case may be. But the number one reason why they didn't do it is because we didn't make them do it. We were distracted by myths. We were distracted by BS, internet myths about, we call up the politician and we say, hey, we understand that our check is going to be cut. The average check is about $2,000, 23% cut. You're looking $400 or $500 a month being cut from your check. You call up your politician and you say, I've heard from every source out there that in a few years, my Social Security check will be cut. What are you doing about it? And they'll come up, they'll pull out their little Rolodex and they'll say, okay, what kind of BS should I tell this person? Oh, it's all fake money. The money was stolen. I'm looking for the money. I'm on it. I've got my magnifying glass and my Sherlock Holmes hat, and I'm looking for that money. As soon as I find that money, I'll put it back in the trust fund and everything will be beautiful. And you say, oh, okay, well, thank you very much. Good job. And you hang up the phone and they're like, gotcha. The Social Security Trust Fund was not stolen. All you have to do is look at the Social Security. Let me pull it up here. The Social Security trustees come out with a report every single year, and it says the last report was 2024, and it says, okay, we started with $2.6 trillion. We got more income from FICA taxes, $1.2 billion, $1 trillion. We sent out this much. Because we sent out more than what we got in, we had to take $103 billion from the Social Security Trust Fund. So that was about 10%. So in 2024, about 10% of your Social Security check came from the trust fund. This year, about 10, 11, 12%. So, okay, the money is there. It's in your check. If you believe that money in your check is fake, then take 10%, give it to charity, because if you don't believe it's real money, I'm sure somebody will believe it's real money. Okay, so then we had another distraction that politicians. So politicians say, okay, the money is stolen. I'm looking for it. And then you hang up and then you find out, okay, wait a second, it's not stolen. It's in my check but the trust fund is going to run out. And then okay, they got me on that one. Oh, okay, I know what the answer is now. Did people are receiving benefits? So we've got millions of people, and this is Elon Musk was saying this, and it says, oh yeah, I'm out there in search. There's millions of people that are 150, 200 years old receiving Social Security benefits. And as soon as we close those people off, I've got a comment to my YouTube today, still people believe that. And Elon Musk even came in and said, okay, that's wrong. He finally admitted it on the Joe Rogan show. Let me play that clip there where he finally admitted, okay, they're not. And Regular viewers to my channel know that as soon as he said that, I said, you don't know what you're talking about. You're looking at the Numident. Zero money comes out of the database he was looking at. He needs to look at the MBR, the Master Beneficiary Record. He didn't know what the Numident and the Master MBR was, or the SID, or Sequis, or Dequis. He had no idea what he was talking about. And now he finally realized that, okay, they're not. So let's listen to him finally admit, as well as a multi-billionaire can admit they're wrong. Let's listen to him.
So then the rebuttal from the Dems is like, oh, well, the vast majority of the people who are marked as live in the Social Security Administration weren't receiving Social Security Administration payments. That is true.
And then he goes on and starts another BS, which I'm not going to repeat because it's even worse BS than the first one. But he had finally admitted, okay, that's true. All that stuff I was saying about people, zombies or 150 years old receiving Social Security benefits. All right, we're going to click that off the list. So that's another BS thing out there, that politicians. So we've got a whole bunch on my website, mygovexpert.com. For those new people watching, this is where you can go in and find information on retirement, disability benefits, survivor benefits, family, Medicare, overpayments, living overseas, veterans benefits, Medicaid, and all the rest of it. But I've got a section there on myths, kind of the top 10 myths. And the number one was that it was stolen. And again, that myth is a myth. Social Security is going bankrupt. No, it's not going bankrupt. Social Security will be around here. Okay, this is an important distinction that people often miss. Social Security will, unless we privatize it, Social Security will be around here for 100, 200, 300, 400 years. The key is how much you're going to get. So in a few years, very few years, you're going to get your Social Security. Social Security is still going to be here, again, unless we privatize it and give it over to Wall Street, and then all bets are off. But in a few years, you're going to get a Social Security check. It's just going to be 23% cut or more. You'll still get a Social Security check. In 10 years, you're still going to get a Social Security check. It might be 50% of what you thought you were going to get. So Social Security will still be here. It's not going bankrupt. The trust fund is running out. The trust fund was started in the 1980s in preparation for the baby boomers. The baby boomers are dipping into the trust fund that they built. So there's reasons why it's happened. Okay. And then I've got some other myths about did people receiving Social Security benefits? Okay, that's a myth. We figured that one out. Everyone's denied disability the first time, which is all BS. That's just a thing a lot of lawyers, allegedly, always be careful on lawyers. Medicare is free. The trust fund is fake IOUs. Talked about that one. But here's the one I want to talk about today. And President Trump is doing us a great, great service about undocumented immigrants. I just got another one today, comment on my YouTube that says there's millions of people, and Elon Musk was guilty of this as well, talking about there's millions of non-citizens receiving Social Security numbers. And he went into Wisconsin, I think, a few months ago, put up a big thing and says, yeah, these millions of non-citizens. And I'm like, when you came over from Canada, he was originally from South Africa, but when he came over, he immigrated to Canada, and then from Canada came to the United States. When he came to the United States, he was a non-citizen and he received a Social Security number. If you come over to the United States legally, Social Security gives you a Social Security number. So yeah, so a lot of non-citizens, if you have a green card, if you have access the process correctly, and you can prove to Social Security that you're in the country legally and you need a Social Security number, then Social Security issues you a Social Security number. So the idea that immigrants, the reason, so when you call up your politician and say, I don't want to take a 23% cut of my Social Security check, and the politician will go through the list and says, oh, have you heard the one about it's all fake money? Oh yeah, I heard that one. Okay. Have you heard the one about it was all stolen? Yeah, no, nice try. Try again. Immigrants. Yes, that's the flavor of the day. It's all immigrants' fault. Even though, so President Trump is going to do us a great favor. He tasked the Secretary of Treasury to stop all federal benefits to undocumented immigrants. So this is good because it's going to prove that undocumented immigrants have not been receiving Social Security benefits. And I know people are going to say, well, they're receiving benefits in this and they're receiving Medicaid and my Medi-Cal in my state. And We're not talking about Medi-Cal. We're not talking about Medicaid. We are talking about your Social Security benefits in the future. Social Security is Social Security retirement benefits. If you do not have legal status in this country, you cannot get Social Security retirement benefits. You had to pay 10 years and all the rest. Social Security disability insurance, Social Security survivor benefits, Social Security spouse benefits, Social Security disability benefits, Medicare. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about today. So I'm sure we're going to get a lot of trolls that say, oh yeah, they're getting free food at the food bank down there. And well, okay, that's proof that they're getting Social Security. No, that's not Social Security. Let's focus on Social Security rather than doing a distraction, which politicians love to do, is distract us by giving out this, BS information. And so, mark my words. I'm going to go on the record here. So, at the very least, 85 more checks. So this is the number I pulled out. If you look for the Committee for Federal Budget and other places, it says the cut might be about 24, 25%. Another one says about 22%. But these are the numbers I am taking from the Social Security Trustees report, the people that are in charge of the Social Security Trust. So that's the number I'm taking. So for all those people that says, yes, all these immigrants are being cut off. Okay. So if that's the fact, next year when this comes out, it won't say 12 months less, or it won't say 23%. If you're right, and all those immigrants were receiving, undocumented immigrants were receiving benefits, Social Security benefits, and we cut them off, shouldn't that help those numbers? Shouldn't we be good for maybe another 160 more full checks and only a 12% cut? I guaranteed, I'm going on the record right now, that next year, that's not going to happen, because people that are not in this country legally cannot get Social Security benefits. In fact, what's going to happen is these numbers are going to get worse. Why? Because people that are in this country illegally that have a Social Security number. So here's examples. You got someone that gets and people say, yeah, there's people at the Home Depot, I know they don't pay taxes. Yes, I understand. Okay, they work under the table, cash, whatever the case may be. But there are people that work we see them being arrested all the time at some manufacturing plant or some chicken plant or something like that, and they're not in this country legally. The boss is supposed to check, but they don't check because they want cheap labor. And those people pay into Social Security, but they use somebody else's Social Security card. So this is why I always recommend that you check your Social Security, your SEQI, it's called, your summary of earnings. You go onto mysocialsecurity.gov, SSA.gov, and check your earnings record to make sure nobody else is working under your record, particularly now that they have this new financial kill switch. So if they find someone in the country working under your record, under your Social Security number illegally, because they just picked it at random, they can shut that down. And then one day you go to use your credit cards and it all stopped. I did a video about that, about the details of that yesterday. That's a brand new thing that they just invented. That is not good. Anyway, so people that are in this country, more than a third of the tax dollars paid by undocumented immigrants go to payroll taxes. Payroll taxes, Social Security, Medicare, dedicating to funding the programs that they're barred from accessing. I've taken hundreds of thousands of Social Security retirement claims, disability claims, Medicare claims, and you have to prove your status in the United States. If anybody has ever filed for benefits, they know they have to prove their status. If the laws were changed, the regulations were changed about 18 months ago, about a little bit longer, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, that it makes it easier. If you're numident, Elon Musk doesn't know what that is, but it's your internal record. If your Social Security number, it shows that you were born in the United States and everything is correct in that, then you don't have to provide a whole bunch of stuff. But if there's a little discrepancy, then you have to start providing documents. But if it shows that you are not born in the United States, then you have to provide your green card, and they go through a save system where they check it with DHS, you get your naturalization, U.S. passport, whatever the case may be. And those are the things those people that have switched their status in the United States, if you came over under one visa and then you later became naturalized and you didn't update your Social Security record, I would update your Social Security record because they've got this new financial kill switch that just might shut down everything. So anyway, so undocumented immigrants paid $25 billion of Social Security taxes. So when those people are kicked out for other reasons by DHS, or they're put in this financial kill switch and they're no longer have access to their bank accounts or credit cards, or they can't work anymore, then they're gonna, as they say, self-deport. A lot of people are gonna get caught in that net. Then Social Security Trust Fund is gonna lose $25 billion of Social Security taxes every year that these people cannot get. They are undocumented immigrants. They're working under a temporary IRS number. They're working under a fake Social Security number, maybe yours, and they're paying into Social Security. But when they get 62 years old and go file for retirement benefits, the Social Security employee is going to say, oh, okay, yep, you're entitled, because all the money you paid into Social Security over the last 10, 20, 30 years, you're entitled to $2,400 a month. So let's go ahead and get you started here. Let me have your ID. Oh, okay, here's your Social Security number. Here's your numadent. Oh, you were not born in the United States, so I'm going to need some more information. I need your certificate of naturalization. I need your green card. And they're going to say, well, I had a green card, but it expired many, many years ago. And I'll give you a terrible example. This happens not so much anymore, but it happened quite often. Vietnam vets, and I've got a video question from a Vietnam vet here. Vietnam vets, they served in Vietnam, Purple Heart, Silver Star, whatever the case may be. And they paid, they lived in the United States all their lives, most of their lives. And they turned 62, 65, 67 years old. And I've had personal cases like this. Vet has came in, old Marine, Army, soldier, whatever the case may be, and says, yeah, I want to go ahead and file for my retirement benefit. Perfect. Got the DD-214, got the work history. You're entitled to $2,200 a month. Perfect. Look at the numadent, look at the record, the internal record. It says they were born in Canada. 99% of the time, born in Canada. Their parents came over from Canada, but didn't do the immigration correctly. And that person in Vietnam, they took pretty much anybody. They didn't check whether you're naturalized or, in the country legally. They, sent everybody to Vietnam, unless you were rich, obviously. But anyway, so these people were working in the United States, and I've had several cases like this, and I'm sorry, until you prove that you're in this country legally, and obviously they're going to say, I served in Vietnam. Here, you want to see, here's, Purple Heart, so I got wounded right here. This is, I served my country, and I'm sorry, Social Security can't do anything until you prove that you're in this country legally. So we couldn't give them money. What we told them is contact their politician and contact immigration and get all that updated. And then after jumping through a billion different hoops, they would finally come in and get their benefits. But that tells you how you can't get your benefits. So these people that donate, it's essentially a donation. So another report there, in 2022, $25.7 billion. In 2010, back in 2010, about $12 billion. So there's hundreds of billions of dollars that undocumented immigrants paid into Social Security, and most of them, vast majority, will never get that back. So once we start kicking those people out, and whether you agree or not agree, whatever the case may be, but this is going to affect Social Security. Social Security next year, with those people not donating that money, then they're not going to get that. We're not going to get that into the trust fund, and then it's going to be cut. So I guarantee you next year, this is not going to go better. And again, the proof is in the pudding. President Trump and the Secretary of Treasury said they are going to cut benefits, federal benefits, for any undocumented immigrant. So let's see the reports. Show me the reports. Don't send me something about someone receiving Medicaid or going to the local food bank or going to the county, to get financial help or something like that. Social Security. So if you see hundreds of thousands, millions of undocumented immigrants being kicked off of Social Security, which you're not going to find, I guarantee you, just as when Elon Musk started talking about 150-year-old people receiving Social Security benefits, I said that's all BS. And he finally admitted, yes, Ed was right. Same situation here. So we've got a lot of questions. And if you want me to clarify anything, please let me know. Again, I've done this, a million times on the inside. I know how it works on the inside. Can permanent residents get Social Security? Yeah, if you're in this country legally, 100%. And if you're in the country illegally and you're paying under a false Social Security number and stuff like that, or a temporary number that the IRS, sometimes they issue these temporary numbers because the IRS doesn't care about your legal status. They just want taxes. So if you're working under those, and then later, so you're never going to collect the Social Security benefits. But later, if you do, go through everything and become legal or become a naturalized U.S. citizen, or, well, now they're talking about denaturalized. It depends on what country, I guess, you're from nowadays. Anyway, but yeah, if you're in this country legally, absolutely, 100%. But you have to provide your legal status. So your green card. And what happens is when you provide that to Social Security, you have to provide your original. Someone asked in the comments on YouTube, they said they have a certificate of naturalization they need to send to Social Security. And it says on the certificate of naturalization, do not make copies of this document. You're not supposed to make copies of the certificate of naturalization. And they said, but I also don't want to send it in to Social Security because it might get lost in the mail, which does happen. But yeah, because those things are hundreds of dollars to replace their certificate of naturalization. So, but Social Security doesn't accept copies anyway. So if you have to prove your legal status by a green card, a certificate of naturalization, a marriage certificate, a divorce decree, or whatever the case may be, don't waste time making a copy of it. You have to take it to the Social Security Administration or mail it in. I would definitely take it down there. And Social Security employee will make a copy. They have to make the copy, and then they stamp it with a big stamp and certify that is an original, and then they hand your originals back to you. And don't say, well, I've got a notarized copy, but this is Social Security doesn't recognize notary either. So don't waste money on notary. Social Security has to make the copies. So considering the vast majority of illegals do not pay into it, most so-called contractors working and do not report it and do it under the table. It is the people working the fault. Yes, they are. Yeah, we don't know what the numbers, I've seen different numbers, but yeah, there's a lot of people that just work under the table, day laborers and stuff like that. Yeah, but there's also, people that work and they have a Social Security number. Again, might not be theirs. They just found one off the internet and went down to the local swap meet and got one printed off or what. And the employees are actually supposed to check, but often they're supposed to go through a system called E-Verify, but they often don't because they want the cheap labor. So they fire, you, and then you complain, you misdirection. Oh, an immigrant took my job. No, it wasn't the immigrant's job. He was, unless you were working for him or her, your boss took your job and gave it to someone so the boss could make more money. I mean, whatever the case may be. But there's also people that come in the country legally, to marry an American citizen, to go to school, temporary, some type of visa. So they come in legally, but then they overstay their visa. So when they come in legally, they're issued a Social Security number if they're allowed to work in the United States. So if everything checks out, Social Security gives them a Social Security number and they work as a student or the wife of a citizen or whatever the case may be. But then if they come in a temporary status and they lose that status, they could stay in the United States. They have a Social Security number. But again, if they become disabled, they go to the Social Security Administration and Social Security says, okay, yep, show us your green card, and it's expired. And yep, sorry. Well, thank you for the donation for the last 10 or 20 years, but yeah, you're never getting that money back. So how on earth does an undocumented person have a legal social? Yeah, so I just explained that one. So again, they have an undocumented does not have a legal Social Security. Okay, I guess that's, yeah. How on earth does an undocumented person, so if they're not in this country legally, they don't have a legal Social Security card unless they came in legally, again, as I just mentioned, those ways. And then later their status changed and they lost their legal status, but they still have their Social Security card. But they're never going to get their money because unless they change their status later and go through the process. So no more taxes from them to prop up Social Security. Yeah. And another $30 billion out of the Social Security Trust Fund. And it's going to hurt everybody else. So instead of, next year I anticipated based on this possibly, and the COLA because of the tariffs, that's also takes out more money from the trust fund. Again, politicians just for 40 years. And the reason why haven't they fixed it is because they have distracted us with these BS myths and we keep buying it hook, line, and sinker. So President Trump is doing us a favor because next year when some politician says, well, the reason your check is going to be cut by 23% in a few years is because of all these undocumented, immigrants receiving Social Security benefits. And you're saying, but didn't the president say he was going to cut off all those benefits? So everything should be good now, right? So what's your next excuse? Oh, aliens took it, or from outer space or something. Yeah, they'll come up with some other BS, and most people will believe it, except for the best community in social media is you guys. Social Security is not running out. The difference from what comes in and what they pay out now is taken from the trust fund. No trust fund. They can only pay out what they take in. That is why they need to work. Yeah, 100%. Social Security can only pay out what they have. No, you're mistaken a little bit. Right now, if they can only, if what you're saying is true, your check is going to be only 90%. Again, the numbers are right in the Social Security Trust Fund. Here it is. Let me show it again. 2.6 trillion came in, or excuse me, 2.6 trillion was in the trust fund. And then in 2024, 1.2 trillion came in, and 1.1 trillion of that was from taxes. The other is from interest, and the other is taxation on bench, because this interest, the trust fund, we buy treasury bonds by law. That's where they have to put the money. They can't put it in a chock cup full of canned nuts and put it in the, in the backyard at the White House. They have to put it in treasury bonds. And then taxation. So 1.3 cost went out. So this much came in, this much came out. So if your logic is right, then your check should only be 90%. What covers the other 10% is the trust fund. So the trust fund is slowly, just like your savings. If you keep money, take money out of the trust fund, then yeah, out of your savings, then it's not going to last forever unless you put more money back in. I came to the U.S. on a H-1B work visa. Yep, got a Social Security card so I could pay into the system from paychecks. I got my green card, naturalized. I had to take my original certificate of Social Security to claim the benefit. Yes, perfect. So you did everything, Jonah, almost semi-retired. You did everything 100% right. Perfect. And congratulations on becoming an American citizen. But those people, again, if you already went down and started your Social Security benefits, so at that time you updated, again, your numinant, and you updated your status with Social Security. A lot of people don't do that. And with this new financial kill switch that they've invented, I am recommending people update their status so you don't get caught in this dragnet. Normally, when Social Security actually had employees, my office and other offices throughout the country, we used to go down to naturalization ceremonies and put up a little table there. And then when people raised their right hand and became American citizens, they had their certificate of naturalization, and then we would line them up And then we would make copies of their certificate of naturalization, have them fill out an SS5, which is a Social Security application, the Social Security card application, and then we would update their naturalization, their citizenship for them. So, but now the Social Security just doesn't have, it just doesn't have it, doesn't have the staff. Were you in combat? No, I was in the 1980s. So. I was in boot camp during the Libya bombings, and I thought I was going, but luckily, part of the Cold War. Fortunately, reality and facts are not altered by anyone's belief. Yes, that is a fact. Was it a lie when B was going to send $2,000 back to Americans for stimulus? Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, it might. Politicians, like to do that and promise a whole bunch of things. But again, that's our money. That's like giving tariffs, raise prices for us because we're the one that's pay the tariffs. And whether we get any of it back, I don't think so. I don't think so. But that's my own. Could always change. But as right now, there is no plan to give us that. A lot of talk about it. Like there was a Doge dividend we were supposed to get, from all the billions and trillions of dollars Doge was saving, we were going to get a Doge dividend. But turns out Doge actually cost us more. It definitely cost Social Security a lot more. It's really hurt Social Security. Hubby on Social Security passed, had almost 500-month federal tax taken out. When they finally returned his last Social Security check, Social Security took out an additional $250 plus. No one can tell me where his extra $250 went. Was stolen from me, widow. 500-month federal tax taken out. So unless you're talking about the IRS, something between you and the IRS, I can't talk to that. But coming from a Social Security check, there could be two things. He was doing the voluntary tax withholding, so he had set up for Social Security to automatically take 5, 7, 10, 12, 20, 22% out of his Social Security check before he got it and to pay for taxes. Or he had a something from the IRS that said Social Security had to withhold money because of an IRS debt or something like that, some type of withholding. But I would kind of figure out if you call Social Security and ask them about that, the person on the phone, it might be a little bit more too complicated. It depends exactly what it was. So I would, you have to submit it in writing to get a definitive answer. So the way you do that is an SSA 561, SSA 561. It's a super easy form to fill out. It's a request for reconsideration. And you can just, the request for reconsideration, let me show it here. The request for reconsideration is pretty simple. It's a small form. So this what you're doing is appealing this decision, the request for level 1 appeal. So you do this request for reconsideration. Let me make sure the link works here. Yep. All right. Beautiful. It still works. SSA 561, and you just put your name and all that kind of stuff. And you just said the reason, what are you appealing and the reason? And you only get like 3 lines there. You don't get that much space to put your case there. So you can add another piece of paper and just write here, see attached, and then say, hey, whatever. And then you submit it, make copies, submit it. And then unfortunately, because Social Security doesn't have the staff, it's going to take a while. But if they finally determine that it was withheld incorrectly, then they will pay you that money back. So, all right, I've got some video questions. Let's, speaking of our Vietnam vet, let's put him up first and let's see what he has to ask.
Hello, this is Kenneth Williams here. I am 77 years old. My wife is 74. We have Social Security, and she has spousal benefits. I just want to know that should I pass away, she has her own Social Security. Will she get all of mine once I pass away? Thank you.
All right, Kenneth. In 50 years, when you leave us here, you're going to promise that, right? It's going to take 50 years. Surviving spouse benefits depends on how much your benefit is and how much her benefit. If her benefit is higher, then she won't receive anything extra. If your benefit is higher, then she'll receive 100% of what you're receiving. So if, let's say, her benefit amount is $1,000, and here's the thing that a lot of people make a mistake on, and it really hurts them. If her benefit is $1,000 and your benefit amount is $2,000, if anything should happen to you, right now you're getting $3,000 a month into the household, her $1,000 and your $2,000. And people think that, okay, if the higher wage earner passes, I will get that person's check. I'll still get my check, but I'll also get that check too. It'll stay $3,000. No, please like, subscribe, share. Let's get that information out there that that's not accurate, because a lot of people are hurting. What happens is she will continue to get her $1,000. It's kind of a bureaucratic type thing. She'll continue to get her $1,000, plus she'll get 100% of yours, and hers will offset. So she'll still get her $1,000, plus she'll get another $1,000 from you, because yours is $2,000 minus the $1,000 of her. So there's $1,000 difference there. So she'll get $1,000 from you, and her keep her $1,000. So for a total of $2,000. That was one of the worst things I had to do when I was taking Survivor. All the Social Security, Title II Social Security employees will say the same thing, that they hated that conversation where, okay, from now on, you're going to receive $2,000 starting. Wait, I thought I received his check. Yeah, the difference between yours and they say, well, we've got this many bills, we got the mortgage, and they got this, and I'm losing $1,000. Yeah, we know. Yeah. But so you got to plan for that, unfortunately. You got to know about it. And then she'll also receive the $255 lump sum death benefit, which is embarrassing. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Anyway, $255, yeah. So, and one thing, another thing, if she's already receiving spouse benefits on your record, and because she's past her full retirement age, if she's already receiving even $1 from your benefit amount, everything will be automatic because she's already on your MBR. Hey, Elon Musk, that's what an MBR does. It actually pays money. You were looking over here at anyway, forget about it. So she's already on your master beneficiary record. If she's receiving $1, if you pass away, then whoever's on that record that's entitled to survivor benefits will automatically be switched to survivor benefits. And if her address is exactly the same as yours, that'll also kick out that $255 extra benefit. If she's not receiving any benefits from your record, then she will actually have to file for benefits on your record, surviving spouse benefits. And don't worry about the death certificate. If you pass away in the United States, then the death is automatically recorded, and Social Security is already, notified of your passing. So she just has to file in that case. So, all right, let's see what else we got here for questions.
Yes, I'm a 62-year-old woman, and I got married in 1983 to my first husband and got a divorce in 1997. I was told that I had to claim on myself for my Social Security before I could claim on his. I just got remarried this year in 2025. He retired in February of 2025. I retired in 2025 in February. I didn't realize that he had. Can I claim on his benefits as a divorced spouse or no? Thank you.
Because you said you're currently married, so you remarried. If you're still married, you didn't remarry and then divorce. If you're married, then you cannot collect benefits on an ex's. There is an exception, surviving spouse benefits. If you are eligible for surviving spouse benefits, you can remarry after the age of 60 and continue to receive survivor spouse benefits. But every other case, no, your benefits will stop because you got remarried. So, all right, let's see. Our old guy from North Idaho here.
Catched Sunday's video. Didn't know you recorded on Sunday. I'll be watching every day.
Come on, you know I have no life. I'm here every day unless my wife tells me I have to go someplace. So for you new people, I do this every day unless the boss says I can't. On 3 o'clock West Coast time, 6 o'clock East Coast time. I'm here every day. I come up with the topic of the day and then I answer questions for the rest. So
following your advice, I called Social Security about getting SSI and correcting my records, which they can't find. She said she corrected them and I should get a My Social Security account. I followed her instructions to the letter and it still didn't work. Is there any way I can get that corrected? Your side issue. You got a lot of trolls on your comment section. Please, people, wake up. Ed was in the Marines. He's not politically for anybody. He's for us. It's just sickening, the stupidity of people after all the goodness that you're doing for us.
yeah, appreciate
So thank you again. And just, I'm trying to get my SSI. They said they made an appointment. They didn't tell me how they'd respond with a letter. I don't know. I guess they have to do it by a letter. And it's getting to be winter up here, and I'm getting to where I can't walk much anymore. My balance is shot, and I got to walk a ways to get out to the mailbox. So living on fumes out here in North Idaho during the coming winter. Was 18 last night. Really love what you're doing. I just hope to God that they don't come after you with that kill switch. That's insane. Well, I'm also afraid to call my representative for fear that they'll put me on the list. So I got to be careful. Again, have a good New Year, Christmas, all that stuff. Appreciate what you do. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Yeah, you're trying to get your account set up. If they set you up an appointment, then they'll send you a letter, and I'm sure the appointment's not until several weeks in the future. But they'll send you a letter confirming the appointment, and then it'll tell you at that time whether it's going to be a phone appointment or in office. If you're having an issue setting up your Social Security online account, which it is a nightmare to do, and there is a reason why it's a nightmare to set up sometimes. Sometimes it's super easy, but sometimes it's very difficult. And the reason it's difficult is because it's supposed to be to prevent other people from pretending to be you going in there and your online Social Security account and causing problems and stuff like that. So most of the time it's annoying, but it's possible. But sometimes if there's something weird in the system that doesn't, and he is an RVer, but he kind of moved around a little bit. It looks like he's in Idaho for a while, so he's at a stay in one place RVer, and so that was probably the issue. Kind of the moving around, it kind of tweaked the system, and so and one more thing, and thank you for the trolls are kind of fun sometimes. It's kind of the old Marine Corps sergeant in me. Nobody harasses me except for my wife, and so I like to be harassed from other areas, so I don't mind the trolls. They're kind of fun. Anyway, but anybody in Northern Idaho, this gentleman, I'm sure he could use some help or someone to look out for him. We've got two websites that y'all have helped build. The mygovexpert.com, which is the resource to, get all the information about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and all that kind of stuff. But we also have 24help.org, which is a discussion group for y'all. This is 100% y'all. So you go in there, and so if there's housing utilities, join that utilities group there, the housing group, the food banks, legal help, health clinics, anything like that. And hopefully he joins that and he says, hey, I'm that guy that from Northern Idaho that's RVing it out there. And anybody in this area that has any suggestions, anything I'm missing, or, want to check on each other every now and then, please, this is the discussion group. and it's broken down into all kinds of different. If you want me to add another discussion group, helping people, there's a conversation there. How do we grow our movement? So if y'all have any ideas on that, then definitely click the feedback there. This is 100% y'all's. And again, places like Chapter, remember, we're also in the annual enrollment period right now. So if you need help with reviewing your Medicare Advantage plan for 2026, make sure you're in the best one to save you as much money. If you want to see if you can kick around a Medicare supplement plan, a plan G or an N or whatever the case may be, you can reach out to them. Just make sure if you're looking for a Medicare Advantage plan, you want to review it. 7 Ps, your plan, your providers, have all that information there available. And then Chapter can help you out. They're 100% free. Nobody charges you for anything like that. They're not supposed to. So let me see. I had some questions that are popped up that I wasn't. Paper checks are not available. They actually, Bella, Doge doesn't know what they're doing about Social Security. They said, okay, we're going to hold back 100%, then 50%, and then 10%, and we're going to stop the checks, and we're not going to stop the checks. We're going to make everybody go into a local Social Security office to prove their ID. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're going to shut down the agency. Okay, we're not. And yeah, so the paper checks are one of the Doge policy of the day is they walk that back. So if there's a very, very small number of people that receive paper checks, and if you're receiving a paper check, it looks like it's going to continue. So, but that is as of 3:47 p.m. on December 1st. That's the policy. So I went into my local Social Security office this morning. All right. So hopefully they treated you well. They were polite, professional, were able to help you out. If you go into a kind of customer service is going to get worse, and this is what politicians want. They want Social Security customer service and to make your life a nightmare. So you will hate Social Security employees, and that way, once it comes down to it, and they're talking about, hey, y'all don't like Social Security anyway, so it's okay for us to give it to our buddies on Wall Street, right? And so they can, bet and make all those, yeah. And we'll bail them out, obviously, if they bet wrong. So hopefully they treated you right. And, what was I getting to? If you go into an office several times, then the district manager of that office gets a report. I used to get a report all the time. Of people coming in multiple times. And it's like, okay, why did this person have to come in 3 times? So we would get reports once a month that showed, these 20 or 30 people had to come into the office 2 or 3 times. Why did they have to? They're supposed to come in, 1 time and they're taken care of. Why did they have to come in multiple times? And you had to figure it out and stuff like that. So, but those reports probably, I'm sure everybody has to come in multiple times nowadays. How will you know if your ex passes away if you don't have any contact with them or anyone he knows? Good question. Thank you, Girly Whirly. So this is important. And I want to get on 2 points on that to make sure. So please share, subscribe, like. So too many people out there are struggling and they've got extra benefits. They just don't know about it. Okay. So if you are married to someone and you're entitled to benefits on their record, if you're entitled to their benefits while they're out there alive and kicking, then you file for benefits on their record and it's not an issue. Probably in your case, what has happened is you check to see if you were entitled to benefits on that person's record, and they say, yes, you are eligible for benefits on that record because you were married for 10 years and you're 62 years old and you're receiving benefits on your own record, unless independently entitled divorce spouse situation, which is a whole different issue. But because your benefit amount is more than half of his, you're not eligible for benefits on his record. And you say, okay, but hopefully the Social Security employee will finish that thought, like I failed to do sometimes, and say, but if anything should happen to him or her, then it's no longer 50%. You can receive up to 100% of those benefits. So you need to keep aware. So that's probably what you're doing right now. You need to keep aware of if anything happens to that person. If anything happens to that person, then you need to go and file a claim for those survivor benefits. but some people just don't have contact with their exes. So here's what you do. You just call Social Security every 6 months. And I know it's a nightmare to get through. Now you got to deal with AI now. It's even worse. But you call Social Security every 6 months and say, I want to go ahead and file a survivor claim on my exes. And if you know the Social Security number, then awesome. If not, the name, date of birth, age, where they were born, that's enough to find the Social Security number. And then you do that in 6 months and they say, yeah, you can't file survivors. Well, why not? Because the person is still alive and kicking. And you said, okay, all right, well, thanks. Talk to you in 6 months. So you call back in another 6 months and you do it again. So that's the best way to do it. It's, yeah, unless, something, kind of where that person lives and you keep an eye on the newspaper, the obituaries or something like that. So, I love this guy. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. This guy is great. Wish him all the best. Thank you. You guys are awesome today. And again, I am completely useless. I am just some guy that's done this all this stuff a million times. Tad opinionated sometimes, but anyway. But it doesn't help anybody. We can't help anybody unless you all go out there and talk to your neighbors and talk to your friends and go to church or wherever. Talk to someone, in the grocery line and pull up a conversation. Like I always say, Medicare people, now is the Medicare season, and you go into these stores and you see a table there that says, ask me about Medicare. And the reason they have that is because they can't talk to you about Medicare until you ask them about Medicare. That's the law, which is good, so they don't harass you. I always say someone out there should come up with some shirts that says, ask me about Social Security. And if someone asks you about Social Security, most of the people in my community will probably have a good idea. And if you don't, what do? You go into y'all's website. Let me show you here, mygovexpert.com. And I need to put this link on 24help.org as well. You go in there to mygovexpert.com and you click on the little question and comment thing. So if somebody has a question, then you say, hey, you need to ask Ed. You can go to his channel. Here's his channel. You can ask a question there. But the best way to do it is to record a video. And how do you record a video? Is you click on that right there and you got 2 minutes to record a video and ask a question. So let's get as many people the help that they need. And I think we've got one more question here from the video.
Hey, Ed, about that Social Security kill switch you were talking about yesterday. Got a question. If anyone could do that, won't it also be a problem that somebody can hack into the system and just delete thousands of Social Security numbers just to screw with people? Let me know if that's possible, and thanks for everything you do.
Yeah, technically they could. The weirdos. Yes, we are weirdos. We expect politicians of the people, by the people, and for the people, rather than of the people, for the rich, and by the rich and powerful. Anyway, Abraham Lincoln. Anyway, so nowadays you can break into any system, I guess. Social Security has never really been broken into. It's never exposed people's Social Security numbers in that type of vast thing. We see Social Security numbers being exposed all the time, but it's usually some hospital or some credit card company, or it's never been Social Security until Doge came in. And you probably heard about that Doge guy at Social Security that put everybody's information up on some unprotected cloud. They say it's protected, but we won't know until we know. And by that time, it's too late. But yeah, breaking into Social Security, the system, and deleting, then they will be able to find that and then they would fix it. But I think the scariest part of that kill switch is those DHS agents, the ICE people, the contractors throughout the country that have some type of grudge against someone, or just, I talked about the old Marine Recon harassing the ICE agents at the rifle range because they couldn't hit the 300-yard line target, which is pretty embarrassing. They could take out retribution on that guy and shut down his financial. Yeah, so that's the scary part. Yeah, if someone breaks into something, then yeah, that's a whole different issue. But I went to the Social Security office. The guy told me the amount I'm to get. Should I count on that amount? It really depends. If it's just basically your benefit amount, if it's a simple calculation, that it's probably accurate. Survivor and spouse benefits, there's all kinds of Windex and rib limb and all that kind of stuff on that one. But what will happen is they gave you the number. So if it's just a retirement benefits or disability benefits, then yeah, if they gave you the number, then that's the number. But anything else that's a little bit more complicated, once they go back to their desk and they do the calculations and run it through the system and push the button and adjudicate it, then you'll get a letter in the mail, and the letter in the mail is the definitive number. And usually what happens is if they push the button and you're entitled to that benefit already, then you'll get a direct deposit. And then you'll get the letter like 10 days later. And you're like, hey, I just got this direct deposit. What's it for? And then a few days later, you'll get the letter saying what it's for. So I was married to my first husband for 3 years, divorced and married my second husband, and we were married for 18 years. Can I draw Social Security on my first husband and my second husband? They are both deceased. No, you can only, because you're only married 3 years to your first, and it was a divorce type situation. A lot of people miss this one. If you were married to your first husband, it doesn't have to be 10 years, but you had to be married to him when he passed away and to get survivor benefits. So if you were married to him when he passed away, and in that case, you only had to be married for 9 months. There's a couple exceptions there, but generally 9 months. So, but unfortunately, in your particular case, you will only be able to get benefits off of your second husband. So, what recourse can be taken after being swept away by the kill switch? Is, first of all, if that happens to you, then you need to go down to the local Social Security office, and Social Security higher-ups always hated using, the Social Security employees using this term, but you have to be resurrected, brought back from the dead. So they redo everything, and then you have to go to your credit card company and your bank and loan company and all that stuff and resurrect and say, I am not deceased. And yeah. And then, yeah, we need, whether you agree with that power that these people have. And as I talked about yesterday, if you agree the current administration can do no wrong and they deserve all the power in the world, that power can also be used by the next president who you might not like. And do you want to have, thousands of, agents throughout there having that type of power, unchecked power. So if that ever happens to you, and if any, I should have mentioned yesterday when I did this video, that if it happens to you, because it's one of the things that we need to watch out for if it is happening out there. So if it is happening out there, do us a favor. Go onto my website, mygovexpert.com, and record a video. To record a video is free. And you don't have to show your face or say your name or anything like that. It'd be nice to say, okay, this is Sally from Akron, Ohio, or, wherever, Ohio, Sally from Ohio. And yes, my credit card companies shut me off. My employer said I was deceased. I couldn't get a check. This happened and that happened. And I'm a U.S. citizen. And I think I know what it was. I used to date this guy, and I heard he's now an ICE agent, and he's got a grudge against me, and so possibly he typed my Social Security number and killed me off. So yeah, record that. We need to get those cases. So I just got a text message at my phone and saying it's from the Social Security office that they have a message for me and to log into my Social Security app. Ooh, yeah, delete it. Forget about it. So if you get a text message or an email from Social Security, it might be Social Security, but take that and say, okay, well, thank you very much. Delete. And then go into the official website, ssa.gov, and then go into your My Social Security account through there. Ignore the email, ignore the text message. It might be legit. It might be legit, but don't click on that link in the email or anywhere else. The man from Idaho can file paperwork with the post office to have his mailbox on his house if he has disabilities, making it difficult to get the road. Oh, thank you very much for the information. Hopefully that helps him out a little bit. Yeah, and there's also, if you're a frequent traveler, it usually costs. There's, was it like a virtual post office type thing? People that travel around or travel overseas or whatever the case may be, they get a virtual post office that the mail goes there, and that company scans the front of it in, the outside, and you decide whether you want to get it opened. And then you say, yeah, trash that's garbage. Or yeah, go ahead and open that, and then they scan it, and so you can see everything online. So yeah. Trump and Musk are too busy trying to find out how many licks does it take to get to dinner. Wow, that is an old commercial. I saw someone talk about the green stamps too. We are aging. We're dating ourselves, aren't we? Is it okay if I make code that gives me 2 checks a month instead of 1? Is it if I make it gives me 2 checks a month instead of? Yeah, some people do receive 2 checks a month if they're getting SSI and SSDI. Yeah, and that's another scam that's going on right now. Is because the way checks are cut. Sometimes, do I have the thingy here? Yeah, here it is. The way checks are cut for like December, if you're receiving SSI, supplemental security income, you got your check today. But you're also going to get another check on the 31st, because January 1st is a holiday, so you get it a day early. So there's a lot of social media videos out there. Some of these are made overseas now, where this is, you can get 2 checks this month. Do you qualify? Click here, watch this video. And it's basically, you're not getting an extra check per year. You're just getting your January check a day earlier, 2 days earlier because of the holiday or something. So, social media guys out there, stop it. So what if I apply for survivor benefits when applied for SSI and I am disabled when I was 62? Now that I'm 68, going to be 69 years old, can I get 100% of the survivor benefits, widows, he's deceased? Okay, a lot of questions there. So if, what if I applied when applied? Okay, so if you applied for SSI, which is the welfare-based program, low income, low resources, when you are eligible for any other benefits, you had to take those other benefits. That's mandated by law. When you receive SSI and you're eligible for anything else, you have to take those benefits. So if you were on SSI when you turned 60 and you were eligible for survivor benefits, you had to take those. You unfortunately had to take them early. So you get the full reduction. If you were eligible for spouse benefits or retirement benefits on your own record at 62, you had to take those. And what it does is offset what you receive from SSI. But no, if you've already been receiving survivor benefits, then you're receiving, like, if your benefits are, let's say your survivor benefits are $500, so you're already receiving survivor benefits, but the max you can get from SSI is $967. So you're getting $500 from survivors and the other $467 from SSI. So you're already getting essentially 2 checks, one offsets the other. But if you didn't file for survivor benefits, or you're now eligible because he just passed or something, then I would call up Social Security and find out what's going on there, see if you're eligible for any more benefits. And remember, you were possibly receiving SSI before you were 65. So you were receiving SSI based on a disability. Now that you're 68 going on 69, going on 25, right? Then you're receiving SSI or all the other benefits based on just regular retirement benefits on being 65 or older. So there are no limitations in terms of disability because you're not on disability anymore. But there is, because you're on SSI, if you decide to work, then your SSI benefits will be offset based on that. So, No, the government is not currently cutting Social Security benefits by 20%. Correct. Not right now. The concern about actually 23%. The concern about the 20% reduction stems from the projections that the program's trust funds will be depleted in the future. Yes, that is correct. And we've had 40 years to fix it, and we have done zero. We've tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas. Your place in Congress. Yeah, no, I'm never going to run for, yeah. If my Social Security check is being withheld for possible overpayment, is Medicare still receiving the monthly premium, or do we pay separately? If you're, okay, if you have an overpayment and 100% is withheld, then yeah, you need to make sure your Medicare is being taken out. If you lose your Medicare, then you're going to be penalized for the rest of your life. And let me find, so if you have an overpayment, remember, you have rights. So you go onto my website, mygovexpert.com, click on the more there, click on overpayments, and it'll give you, you know, looks like you're having your full benefit withheld. You can ask for a partial payment, you know, a 60-month payment plan, or longer. If you ask for more than 60 months, then you'll have to provide financial documents that show you can't pay it off in 60 months. It's zero interest. But yeah, check out my website, and yeah, see if you can get at least say, okay, you're withholding this much or whatever the case may be, but can you withhold $202.90 less? So that way my Medicare won't get interrupted or whatever the case may be, you know, so see what you can do. I'm 18. Do I need to call now or wait until I'm 65? If you're 18, then the only thing you need to do is be young and stupid in 18, like we all were. And if you are working every year, so you need to check your work record. And when you work, you pay FICA taxes, Social Security, Medicare taxes, and you need to make sure that Social Security gets those, what you paid into it, recorded accurately. Because what we see is a lot of people, they don't check that every year, every few years to make sure it's accurate. And then when they go to file for benefits at 62 or 65, they say, wait a second, there's some years that weren't accounted for back when I was in the 20s or 30s. And if you can't prove it, and if it's not in what's called the suspense file, where they have those billions of dollars of undocumented immigrant donations in that suspense file, then yeah. Ed loves talking politics. Yeah, no, you're misunderstanding politics, yes, not partisanship. Yeah, you're right, politics. Politics is about resources. I think resources should go to make sure 23% doesn't cut, right? Partisanship is talking about, oh, the liberals and the conservatives, and I don't deal with, I talk about policies, politics. So they're different. People confuse them. But anyway, create a Social Security account and all your messages are there. Set up your preferences also. Yes. And they usually text you and stuff like that, but I wouldn't trust those. I definitely wouldn't touch those. Yeah, I wouldn't click on anything because you never know. Most experts believe it is highly likely that Congress will act to prevent an automatic cut because Social Security is considered a critical program for millions of Americans. Really? I kind of agree with you, but we can see this playing out right now with 20 million Americans being kicked off health insurance because their Affordable Care Acts are tripling in terms of price. So 20 million people are now going to have the emergency room as their primary care physician, which costs everybody even more, cost you more because prices go up across the board. And they've known about this. There's a new healthcare plan coming out in 2 weeks. I'm saying that for 10 years now. So we're going to fix Social Security. And so this is the exact playbook. We see it happening right now. It's nice to be optimistic. But once you come down to, okay, we don't have 85 more checks, we have 5 more checks. So in a few months, we're going to cut your check by 23, 25, 27, 30%. And since we've tried nothing, here's a solution that we're going to raise the retirement age to 100. We're going to raise it to 75. We are going to just go ahead and privatize it. So the idea is to do it as soon as possible. What do they say? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago or today. The second best time is today. But yeah, the distractions, but thankfully President Trump is going to finally clear out that other distraction. So politicians have been talking about undocumented immigrants receiving Social Security benefits for decades, and we want to see perp walks. We want to see the Social Security Trust Fund be insolvent next year, that there's not going to be because all those undocumented immigrants were kicked off. It's not going to happen because they're not receiving it. So President Trump, unknowingly, is going to prove that lie, that it is a lie. So, all right. Love your channel. Keep up the great work. Love you're helping other people out there, Ronald. So keep up the good work and go out there and help as many people as you possibly can. Okay, y'all take care. I'll be back again tomorrow. Oh, and tomorrow we're going to have one of our former Social Security employees that just retired, and she was an expert on all things disability, CDRs, filing for disability benefits. So she's going to join me tomorrow if everything works out technically, and answer all your questions about Social Security disability, and I'll answer other questions as well. All right, y'all take care. Have a beautiful night, and please, 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 please take care of each other. Bye-bye.